We have breaking news to begin this half hour, 9 days or so after the election. The GOP nominee for governor is Victor Marx. And Kyle is here to explain how that happened.
Yeah, if we were looking at this right the night before primary night, it would be like, yeah, of course it's going to be Victor Marx, right? He was the presumed front runner in the Republican race for governor. He had an enormous fundraising edge. He was the only candidate out there doing kind of traditional campaign activities. The other two candidates didn't seem to have the money or the wherewithal. But at the end of the day, it turned out to be a really close race between Victor Marx, who describes himself as a high-risk missionary, and MAGA pastor, State Rep Scott Bottoms from the Springs, and State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, more of a traditional Republican from Brighton. She ran really close with Marx, and at the end of the day, it's going to be about a 2,000 vote margin for Victor Marx over Barb Kirkmeyer. The Associated Press has just called it. There are a few counties that are still grabbing stray votes here and there. It's the ballot curing process, right? If you got a signature issue or something else with your ballot, then you can go back in and fix that, and your vote will be counted. Now, you're saying, well, hold on a second. Why isn't there an automatic recount on this thing? Well, because it has to be within half of a percentage point of the leader's vote tally. And it's not there. I can't tell you the exact total. As of a day or two ago, it would have to be at like 1,030 votes. And it's not there. There's not going to be an automatic recount, which means somebody would have to pay for a recount. Barb Kirkmeyer is not an election conspiracy theorist. She's been around elections to know the vote's not going to change. There's not going to be a recount. Victor Marx is going to be the GOP nominee, and it's going to be a fascinating race between him and Phil Weiser. Weiser will be the overwhelming favorite, given that the last gubernatorial race was called for Democrats by almost 20 points. And in that case, they were running former CU regent and businesswoman Heidi Ganahl. And this time around, they're running a ministry leader who won't tell folks how many people he's killed as a civilian, can't back up his claims of rescuing women and children, and performs exorcisms in person and by phone. So it's going to be an interesting March to November.
The interview you did with him was something that I think got a lot of traction even on national level, and it shows the stark differences between the two of them. Can we expect debates? We hope.
I don't know. I mean, Phil Weiser debate tomorrow, right? I mean,
right.
You just turn on the camera and the light, and he would be there. I mean, I'll say Victor Marx debated on 9 News. It was the only debate that he did. He came in, he was treated fairly, he answered the questions. He seemed to really enjoy himself, I'll say that. He likes the back and forth. So, yeah, I hope that there will be a debate. There will be a lot to debate, and it'll be interesting to see how the race will be covered, right? Will the race be covered in terms of their backgrounds and in their qualifications and things like that, or will it simply be, what do you want to do about taxes? What do you want to do about education? My personal feeling is that both those things matter. Right? Both those things matter, but there is definitely an apprehension in a lot of the Colorado political media to ask questions like, how many folks have you killed?
Right. And on that note, when it comes to the Republican Party in Colorado, that interview was played on all of the, John Oliver, all of the shows. I saw it everywhere, and they were making fun of his lack of an answer to you about how many people have you killed. So what does that do for GOP politics here in Colorado?
I don't know. I mean, I heard from a number of folks in the party after our interview who were pretty taken aback by his failure to answer basic questions about stuff that he brags about, right? Like, this is not like me digging skeletons. This is like stuff that he brags about but then won't answer for or provide evidence for. But I heard from a number of folks who didn't like the fact that their party was a national laughingstock as a result of it. I don't know how much that led to the final result of the race, where Barb Kirkmeyer ran unexpectedly close to Victor Marx, despite being outspent like 4-1. But at the end of the day, I think there are some folks in the Colorado GOP who are tired of being a national laughingstock. But you got to understand, there's also people who love what Victor Marx is selling. His campaign was powered by real strength among the evangelical church audiences in Colorado, where church pastors would turn over their pulpits to him on Sunday for him to speak and promote his campaign. So he has got a real base of support. I don't want anybody to think that this guy doesn't have support. He just won a primary, right? He won a 3-way primary. He's a very charismatic guy. He's a very friendly guy. He's everything that you would think the leader of a $7.5 million a year ministry would be. Right? He talks a great game. He tells a great story, mostly his own story, and he presents a version of sort of almost like MAGA alpha male, like, let's solve our problems with brute force again. And there are some people who love that stuff.
Right. And then what is the factor that Scott Bottoms brought into this race then, when you think about the way the numbers came out?
Yeah, well, I mean, Scott Bottoms is another MAGA far-right type figure. He was the guy who had the whole business about how there's a pedophile ring selling children out of the state capitol, and about how there's an army of 50,000 Venezuelans in rural Colorado that nobody else thinks exists. So he brought just kind of a different flavor of MAGA. Between the two of them, they got like 2/3 of the votes, right? I mean, Marx and Bottoms together are approaching 60% of the vote. So this is something I said on Next the other night. You know, there's been this civil war within the Colorado Republican Party of whether they want to win, whether they want to put forward candidates that might attract unaffiliated votes, or whether that would be a compromise on their principles. And they don't want to do it. They'd rather not compromise their principles than win. But at the end of the day, you've still got, you know, almost 2/3 of the party that is in the don't compromise, go hard MAGA, even in a blue-purple state.
That's what's so interesting when we think about it. I know you have much more coming up on Next.
Yeah, we'll be digging into things at Next. We expect that Marx is going to speak at 6 o'clock as well, and it will be interesting what he has to say. He is an untraditional politician. He thinks that that is part of his appeal, and we'll see if it's true.
Now he's got a victory in a primary to
Yeah.
back that up. All right, Kyle, thanks.